My name is Farron, and for most of my life, I've always been someone who values observing patterns over rushing to conclusions. This approach worked well for me in business, where patience and accuracy often yield better results than making impulsive decisions. It also worked well in my marriage for a time until it didn't. I was married to Mayan for 6 years. From the outside, we seemed like a solid couple, though not particularly flashy. We weren't the kind to post love notes or anniversary pictures on social media. Instead, we kept our relationship private, focusing on building it on mutual respect. We had our routines: morning coffee in separate mugs, simple dinners together, and quiet weekends spent unwinding in the city. It felt comfortable, dependable, and reliable. But it was on a Thursday night that the first crack appeared in our marriage, though at the time I didn't recognize it. Mayan had promised to be home by 8 p.m. So, I decided to make her favorite pasta with fresh basil. But 8 o'clock came and went, and then 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock the pasta was cold, sitting untouched in the pot. She finally walked through the door at 10:42 p.m. looking scattered. She wasn't drunk or disheveled, but something seemed off, like she'd been caught out in the rain without an umbrella. Mayan, loosening her high heels, said, "Work ran late. New campaign. Everyone's working double shifts." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't text." I was getting worried. She shrugged dismissively. "My phone died." She set down her bag and took off her shoes. But as she did, I caught a hint of citrusy perfume, the same scent she had stopped wearing months ago, claiming it was too flirty for the office. I tried to keep my voice light. "You're wearing the old perfume. I thought you didn't like it anymore." There was a brief flicker of tension in her eyes. "Oh, I must have grabbed it by mistake this morning. Didn't realize. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to be the kind of person who pushed for a confession, but something felt off." Later that night, while she brushed her teeth, I picked up her phone from the kitchen counter. It was at 47% battery, which didn't line up with her claim that it had died. I hadn't seen her charge it, and that small detail unsettled me. I didn't have any concrete proof, just a growing feeling that something wasn't right, as if she were slipping into the shadows. The next week, Mayan casually mentioned a new person at her office, a man named Tyson, a consultant from Los Angeles who was helping restructure their digital strategy. She said, "He's got that typical California calm. Like nothing rattles him. People here could learn a thing or two." I responded with, "So, he's your boss now?" She quickly replied, "No, not exactly. We just work closely together. He's sharp." Her tone was too measured, too studied, as if she were trying to hide her interest. But that only made her interest clearer. Over the next few days she mentioned Tyson multiple times, his work ethic, how everyone admired him. One evening I found her giggling at something on her phone. When I asked her what was so funny, she quickly turned the phone face down and forced a laugh. "Just a meme. Work stuff." I'm not the type to yell or demand immediate answers. I prefer to gather data, dates, times, patterns. So I began to keep track. I didn't hire a private investigator, but I made note of things in my phone. On Monday, Mayan mentioned a strategy dinner with upper management. When I checked her office calendar, there was no such meeting listed. On Tuesday, I called her office at 7:15 p.m., and a junior analyst, Serena, answered. Mayan had left hours earlier, saying she had dinner plans. On Wednesday, I cleared my schedule, parked across from her office at 5:50 p.m. and waited. At 6 p.m., I saw her walk out, wearing a sleek black coat, tight jeans, and darker lipstick than usual. A tall, confident man with that laid-back California vibe walked behind her. She laughed at something he said, resting her hand on his arm. I didn't follow them, but I didn't need to. I'd seen enough. That night, when Mayan came home near midnight, she told me an elaborate story about how the team had gone for drinks and continued brainstorming at someone's apartment. I barely responded, just nodded. She casually added, "Tyson might be moving back to LA soon, though he's not sure yet." I quietly said, "Is that so?" Inside I felt a cold certainty settle in. Something between us had broken, and she wasn't even trying to fix it. She was already drifting away. I decided then that if she was going to leave, I wouldn't fight for someone who was already halfway out the door. But I would control how it ended. The next morning I surprised her by making pancakes, something I didn't do often. She walked into the kitchen, still damp from the shower, and raised an eyebrow. "Pancakes? What's the occasion?" I gave her a calm smile. "No occasion. Just felt like being good to my wife." She smiled back, but there was hesitation in her eyes, as if she sensed I knew something, but wasn't sure how much. That Friday I suggested we go out to dinner, just the two of us. "Let's put the phones away. We barely talk anymore." Let's have a real conversation tonight. No distractions. She agreed a little too quickly. Sure, that sounds nice. Guilt often makes people compliant, and I could sense she was relieved, maybe even hopeful that I just wanted to reconnect. But in truth, I wanted to see if she would offer any honesty before I confronted her with the evidence I'd collected. We chose a quiet restaurant in Midtown. She wore a simple black dress, understated but elegant. As I watched her, I couldn't help but notice how beautiful she still was, and how much we had drifted apart in such a short time. For the first half of dinner, we kept the conversation polite. We discussed possible vacation plans, her new responsibilities at work, and some details about my own job. But every time I steered the conversation towards something more personal, she would quickly change the subject. It was clear she was avoiding something. When dessert arrived, I felt it was the right moment. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. Do you ever think about how marriages fall apart? Megan's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I gently tapped my fork against the plate, my voice softening. It doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. Late nights become filled with lies. A hand rests on someone else's arm. And then, suddenly, everything changes. She froze, the spoon in her hand hovering midair. Slowly she set it down. Farron, what are you saying? I met her gaze directly, my tone calm but firm. I saw you Wednesday evening with Tyson. I was parked across the street. I watched you laugh with him like I didn't exist anymore. Her face went pale. She swallowed hard. You followed me? I shook my head. No, I was observing. There's a difference. She didn't deny it. That was the first real reaction I'd seen from her in weeks, her polished exterior slipping, exposing real fear and regret underneath. Farron, I'm sorry. It's not what you think, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't blink. I'm not asking for an explanation. I'm asking one simple question. I leaned in, my gaze unwavering. Are you in this marriage or are you out? She opened her mouth, but no words came. In that silence, I heard everything. Her eyes darting nervously, her thumb rubbing as though trying to wipe away an invisible stain. After a long pause, she spoke. I haven't slept with him. I lowered my voice, calm. I didn't ask that. She hesitated. It's not like that. He's easy to talk to. I started looking forward to seeing him, feeling noticed again, laughing. Her voice faltered, unable to finish. I took a slow breath. So, you wanted something on the side? Her eyes flashed with indignation. That's not fair. I didn't mean to hurt you. No, I said, my tone firm. What's unfair is watching my wife slip away and pretend everything is fine. She pushed her plate aside and lowered her head. Then she said the words that would end everything. I think I need space. Just a weekend to clear my head. I leaned back, a strange calmness washing over me. A weekend with him? She hesitated before nodding quietly. Yes. I felt something break inside me like an anchor chain snapping. I stared at her, my voice quiet but strong. You want 3 days to step out of our marriage to test another life? She pleaded, her voice soft. I'm asking for honesty from both of us. I finished my drink in one go and set the glass down with a soft clink. No, Megan. You're asking for an escape without guilt. Take your weekend. But when you're done, don't expect to find me here. I stood up, leaving the check on the table, and walked out. That night, I didn't storm out of the house or make a scene. That's not who I am. Instead, I quietly packed a suitcase with clothes, important documents, and a small box of old photos that still meant something to me. She wasn't home, probably already with him. By the time she texted me asking, "Can we talk?" I was already checked into a short-term rental across town under a different name, just in case she came looking. The weekend passed. Megan sent a few texts, then a longer email. By Monday morning, I hadn't opened any of them. I didn't need an explanation or a half-hearted apology. Confusion isn't an excuse for betrayal. That afternoon, while she was out, I returned to the house. I walked through every room, taking one final look at what had once been our shared life. I gathered the last things I wanted, a jacket, a spare key, and quietly left the rest behind. I packed up the shoes and the watch she'd given me during our second year of marriage. I removed my wedding band, leaving it on the dining table alongside a folder containing the divorce papers, my signature already on the dotted line. I wrote one simple sentence: you don't get to test drive other lives and then come back to mine. No threats. No anger. Just the truth followed by a period. And then I walked out for the last time. That night she called, but I let the phone ring. There's a difference between leaving in rage and leaving because you've had enough. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Weeks turned into months, and the divorce moved forward more quickly than I'd anticipated. Maybe because she didn't contest it, didn't ask for anything. Perhaps she was still hoping I would change my mind. I settled into a modest, modern apartment, embracing the silence. No more late-night anxiety, no more suspicion. It was just me, free to breathe. Megan kept the house, the furniture, and the framed photos on the walls. I imagined her walking through the empty rooms, feeling the weight of the past. Sometimes she would text me on my birthday or send polite, almost businesslike messages. I would respond briefly without any warmth. Then about a year after the divorce, I received an unexpected email from a woman named Aaliyah, who claimed she had worked with Megan. The subject line read, "I thought you should know about Tyson." Curiosity got the better of me, so I opened it. She explained that Tyson had moved on from Megan 6 months after our split. He had been unfaithful to her too, involved with younger colleagues. Apparently, Megan hadn't taken it well. I closed the email with a wry smile. It changed nothing. I already knew how that story would end. A few weeks later, I ran into Megan by chance at a downtown cafe. She seemed smaller, dimmer, as if a part of her had faded. There was a half-finished cup of tea at her table and a paperback novel, face down. When our eyes met across the room, she gave a faint smile. "Farron," she said, "it's been a while." I nodded politely. "Megan." We stood there for a moment, the air thick with unspoken regrets. She gestured to her table as if inviting me to sit. For a brief second I considered it. But then I remembered the countless nights of waiting alone, the cold emptiness of broken trust. "You look good," she said softly. "Thanks," I replied, shrugging. "You too." It was a lie, but I said it kindly. She looked tired, weighed down by burdens too heavy for one person to carry. "Do you ever think about what happened?" she asked. I shook my head. I lived it. That was enough. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't feel the urge to comfort her. I offered a polite nod and walked away without looking back. I didn't need to. 3 years have passed since I left that house, since I placed my ring on the table and walked out. People sometimes ask if I would ever marry again. My answer is always the same. Maybe, but only if it comes with peace, not noise. That's not fear, it's clarity. I know my own worth now, and I refuse to negotiate with someone who isn't sure I'm enough. I still see Megan in passing at social events or around the city. She smiles as if we're just distant acquaintances. I smile back. There's no bitterness, only a sense of history that doesn't need to be revisited. She remarried once, briefly, but it didn't last. The rumors say he traveled often, and Megan suspected him of infidelity. She found proof, confronted him, and he walked out without a word. Karma doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just holds up a mirror. As for me, I'm seeing someone new, Enya. She's not dramatic or flashy. She speaks plainly, laughs freely, and doesn't play games. With her, I don't feel the need to chase attention or prove my worth. I just feel seen. It's simple. It's safe. It's real. A few weeks ago, I was cleaning old files on my laptop when I came across a folder of photos from my time with Megan. We looked so young, so full of confidence, grinning without a care. But when I looked at them, I didn't feel sadness. Just gratitude. Because when someone shows you they're willing to risk everything you've built for something fleeting, they've given you a gift. Freedom. I don't need revenge or endless apologies. I just needed the truth. And once I had it, I made my choice and never looked back. That's the part people forget. You don't win by begging someone to choose you. You win by walking away when they don't, and then by staying gone. Sometimes letting go isn't about punishing someone else. It's about freeing yourself from a situation that no longer nurtures your heart or soul. When you feel that shift, the quiet betrayal in words unspoken, in nights spent wondering, it's often already too late. The quiet exit isn't a sign of weakness, but a testament to self-respect. So I ask you, what truly ends a relationship? Dramatic arguments and ultimatums, or a silent, decisive departure? Let me know what you think. And remember, staying silent doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes, it's the strongest move you can make for yourself and your future.